What if breakfast was never supposed to look like this? No cereal, no syrup, no sugar in a bowl. For thousands of years, people started their day with something completely different. Bread, olives, milk, honey, dates, simple foods, old foods, foods mentioned again and again in the Bible. Today we are counting down 12 biblical breakfasts, and for each one, we're breaking down exactly what it did for the body, why it worked, why people relied on it every single morning. Let's begin. Food number 12, boiled eggs, olives. Olives are mentioned throughout Scripture, and the land of Israel is described in Deuteronomy as rich in olive oil. Here's why that mattered. Olives are packed with monounsaturated fat, the same type of fat researchers link to healthy cholesterol levels. Olive oil also contains natural plant compounds called polyphenols, which studies suggest may help reduce inflammation in the body. Eggs bring something different to the plate: complete protein. That means all 9 essential amino acids the body cannot produce on its own. Eggs are also one of the few natural sources of vitamin D and choline, a nutrient tied to brain and liver function. Together, this breakfast delivered steady fuel, healthy fat, and protein, everything a person needed before a long day outdoors. Food number 11, cucumbers. Fresh cheese, flatbread cucumbers, are named directly in the book of Numbers. Remembered fondly by the Israelites during their time in the desert, cucumbers are over 90% water, which made them useful for hydration in a hot climate. Long before refrigeration existed, they also contain small amounts of vitamin K and antioxidants. Fresh cheese, made from goat or sheep milk, provided calcium and protein, and because it was minimally processed, it retained more of the natural nutrients found in raw milk. Some fresh cheeses, depending on how they were made, also contained early-stage probiotics from natural fermentation. Paired with flatbread for carbohydrates, this breakfast was cooling, hydrating, and balanced, light enough for a hot morning, filling enough to last. Food number 10, lentil stew. Lentil stew appears in one of the most well-known scenes in Genesis, when Jacob trades a bowl of it for his brother's birthright. Nutritionally, lentils are one of the most efficient foods in the ancient diet. They're high in plant-based protein and fiber, which together slow down digestion and help maintain steady blood sugar and energy levels, instead of the quick spike and crash that comes from simple carbohydrates. Lentils are also a strong source of iron and folate, 2 nutrients tied to healthy blood and energy production. For a population doing intense physical labor with limited access to meat, lentils were one of the most practical protein sources available. This wasn't just a cheap meal, it was one of the most efficient sources of sustained energy in the entire ancient diet. Food number 9, grapes. Soft cheese grapes appear in Numbers 13, described as so large that 2 men were needed to carry a single cluster. Grapes contain natural sugars for quick energy, along with antioxidants such as resveratrol, a compound researchers have studied for its potential role in supporting heart health. They also provide small amounts of vitamin C and potassium. Soft cheese added protein and calcium, nutrients important for bone strength and muscle function, especially valuable in a diet with limited dairy variety. Combined, this breakfast offered a mix of fast-acting energy from the fruit and slower, sustained fuel from the protein and fat in the cheese. Food number 8, ancient grain porridge. The Book of Ruth describes workers being given roasted grain during the harvest, a practical, on-the-go meal for people doing physical labor all day. Whole grains like barley and wheat are rich in complex carbohydrates and fiber. Barley, in particular, contains a type of fiber called beta-glucan, which studies suggest may help support healthy cholesterol levels and slow the release of sugar into the bloodstream. Because this porridge was minimally processed, often just boiled whole grain, it retained more fiber and nutrients than refined grain products do today. For laborers, this meant a slow, steady release of energy instead of a quick burst that faded within an hour. Food number 7, fermented goat milk. Figs. In Genesis 18, Abraham serves curds and milk to his visitors, one of the earliest food scenes recorded in Scripture. Fermented milk, similar to what we would now call yogurt or kefir, develops beneficial bacteria during the fermentation process. Modern research on fermented dairy suggests these live cultures may support gut health and make the milk easier to digest than in its unfermented form, which mattered in a time with no refrigeration. Figs, meanwhile, are naturally high in fiber and potassium. Isaiah 38 even describes a fig-based remedy used for healing purposes, showing how deeply figs were tied to well-being in this culture, not just nutrition. This pairing combined gut-friendly fermented dairy with fiber-rich fruit, a combination modern nutritionists still recommend today. Food number 6, olive oil, bread, herbs. Deuteronomy describes the promised land as one flowing with olive oil, a resource treated as central to daily life. Olive oil is rich in monounsaturated fat and polyphenols, plant compounds studied for their potential anti-inflammatory properties. Herbs like hyssop and wild mint, often mixed into this meal, added additional antioxidants, along with compounds traditionally associated with supporting digestion. Bread provided the carbohydrate base, energy the body could access quickly after a night without food. Simple as it was, this breakfast combined healthy fat, plant compounds, and carbohydrates in a way that modern nutrition guidelines still point to as a balanced way to start the day. Food number 5, grilled fish, flatbread. In John 21, Jesus is described preparing grilled fish for his disciples on the shore, one of the more peaceful meal scenes in the New Testament. Fish from the Sea of Galilee, such as tilapia, is a lean source of complete protein. It also contains omega-3 fatty acids, which researchers have linked to heart and brain health. Unlike red meat, this type of fish is naturally lower in saturated fat. Grilling, rather than frying, preserved these benefits without adding extra fat during cooking. Paired with flatbread for carbohydrates, this breakfast delivered lean protein and healthy fat, a combination associated with sustained fullness and steady energy. Food number 4, barley bread, raw honey. In John 6, a boy offers 5 barley loaves as part of one of the most well-known meals in the New Testament. Barley bread, made from a grain many ordinary families could afford, is high in fiber, particularly beta-glucan, a compound studies suggest may support healthy blood sugar and cholesterol levels. Raw honey, described in Proverbs as pleasant and good, contains natural sugars, along with small amounts of antioxidants. Some research suggests raw, unprocessed honey may have mild antimicrobial properties, though it should not be treated as a medical treatment. Together, this breakfast paired a slow-digesting, fiber-rich grain with a natural source of quick energy, a balance many athletes and nutritionists still aim for today. Food number 3, chickpea mash bread. Ezekiel 4 describes a bread made from a mixture of grains and legumes, including beans and lentils, a dense, practical combination built to sustain a person over time. Chickpeas and similar legumes are high in plant protein and fiber, and they're a well-documented source of both iron and folate. Together, protein and fiber slow digestion, which helps the body release energy gradually rather than in a quick spike. Because legumes were affordable and easy to store, they became a dietary staple for people who couldn't rely on meat as a regular protein source, offering many of the same benefits without the cost. This wasn't a meal built for pleasure. It was a nutritionally efficient way to get through a long, physically demanding day. Food number 2, raisins, nuts, raw honey. In 1 Samuel 25, Abigail sends raisin cakes as travel provisions, chosen specifically because dried fruit didn't spoil. Raisins are a concentrated source of quick energy, along with iron and antioxidants, nutrients that become more concentrated once the fruit is dried. In Genesis 43, pistachio nuts and almonds are sent as a valuable gift, and for good reason. Nuts provide healthy fats, plant protein, and vitamin E, a nutrient tied to skin and cell health. Raw honey rounded out the mix with fast-acting natural sugar. This combination, fast energy from dried fruit and honey, paired with slower, sustained energy from healthy fats in the nuts, is strikingly similar to what modern endurance nutrition still recommends. Food number 1, Dates, almonds, warm water. Dates are one of the most nutrient-dense fruits in this entire list. They're high in natural sugar for quick energy, along with potassium and fiber, nutrients tied to healthy muscle and digestive function. Some scholars believe part of what Scripture calls honey in describing this land may actually refer to the thick syrup pressed from dates, though this remains a theory rather than a settled fact. Almonds, mentioned in Numbers 17 in the story of Aaron's staff, are rich in healthy fats, plant protein, magnesium, and vitamin E, a nutrient profile researchers consistently link to heart health. Warm water, often taken first thing in the morning, is traditionally believed to support digestion, though this specific claim is based more on long-standing practice than controlled scientific study. Dates for fast energy, almonds for lasting strength. A simple, effective combination, one still recommended by nutritionists today, thousands of years later. 12 breakfasts, thousands of years apart from our own. No cereal boxes, no sugar packets, just whole foods, fruit, grain, legumes, dairy, and healthy fats pulled directly from the land and in many cases written directly into Scripture. We can't say these meals will heal you instantly, but we can say this: the nutrition inside them, the fiber, the protein, the healthy fats, is the same nutrition modern science still points to today. If this kind of history and health breakdown interests you, subscribe now, because there are many more ancient meals like this one still waiting to be uncovered.